Hello, everyone. This is FallenDice, and welcome to episode 4 of Bee Master with FallenDice. Um, so before we get going on this one, there's a couple preliminaries I'm going to have to knock out here. Now, in our last episode, I showed you how we took a good old Meadows bee and converted it into a super bee that can work in the rain, can work in the caves, underground, and can work at night. Now, before we get into this next episode, which is all about mutations, crossbreeding, getting the bees that we want to give us the items that we need, I need to get the basis ready. Now, right now, I've got a few queens from the Meadows that have all those wonderful little goodies in them, but I need to get them in my forest bees, and I need to get some new queens because I don't want to use the ones that I have. Those are like my backup, my in case I ever run out or need to restart over. So I always want to keep a few of those in the back pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stacks on stacks. Can't believe I just said that. I'm going to take my stacks of Meadows here, these drones, and these drones here are all of the super variety. Nocturnal, Flyer, and Cave. These are the ones from our last episode. I put them in an automated LPary, so it kept pushing them through, and that's what we got. So I've got those, so I'm going to take those, grab a bunch of regular Meadows princesses. We're going to breed them into them so we get some princesses that also have these abilities that I'm not worried about losing. And then we're going to do the same thing with some force. And maybe what I'll... No. The thing is I lead at least 10. So I'm going to go with the Ada here, and then I want a couple backups to play with. But I need to do some combining of both the Meadows and the Forest to start. Then that's the beginnings of all of our mutations. But I want to make sure that everything I'm starting with has Nocturnal, Cave, and Flyer, so that our bees in the later stages, I'm not having to try and constantly be breeding that into it. We want to start from scratch so our bees continue to work our way up with that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. I'm going to, like I said, we'll breed it into both our new Meadows princesses and some forest ones. And then when I get this all set up and good to go, I'll be back and we'll actually start our mutation crossbreeding episode. All right, so the preliminary work is done. And I'm thinking I may need more of these. Here's what we got. So we've got 12 of the Meadows, and we got 13 of the forest. So altogether, that gives us 25. And I've got 16 spots set out. So I could probably fit enough more in. The reason why I would go for the larger amount is the more bees you've got, the better chance of getting the mutation. And just like the previous episode when we were breeding in the Cave and the Flyer and the Nocturnal and all those things, it all comes down to getting that one pair. Everything else is just to try and get you to that pair. Because once you get the one pair and you start to breed him and you get those purebred drones that have the statistics you want, those traits that you're looking for, all you got to do is keep feeding those in to the bees that you have that might even be halfway there. Because here's what we're going to do. There's a couple things that we need from the bees. One of those is going to be the alveary, and we're not quite there yet, but scented paneling, and I bet you I still don't have the ability to go through here yet. All right, so let me go to the wiki, and let's pull up that information here for you. All right, so the scented paneling, which is what we have right here. Impregnated casing, we've made those before. That's what we use to make the actual apiaries. We just surround it with the wood and the half slabs across the top. The scented panelings, which we need for the alvearies, require royal jelly and pollen. Pollen, to get a lot of it, is your industrious bee. The royal jelly comes only from the imperial bee. So those are two of the bees at the very top. Now, as you look over here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You need 8 panelings for a single alveary block. Now, to make an alveary, you need a lot of blocks. In fact, you need 27 blocks. 27 alveary blocks to make one single alveary. So you're talking 27 and then 8 scented panelings each. So it takes a couple stacks of pollen per alveary. And each alveary, even though it's that much larger, still only produces one bee. So industrious is still the way to go as far as producing the pollen for these panelings. The second thing is the royal jelly. That does only come from the imperial bee. And in addition to being used for this paneling, it is also used over there for the rainmaker for the dissipation charges and some of that kind of stuff. So there's a few uses for the royal jelly that that we're going to need. So those two bees are what we're going to make this episode. And another reason for that is they both start off with the same base. They use the same bees to begin with, and at a certain point in this, they're going to diverge. And so that's kind of what I have it split off as, half of them we're going to start working for the Imperial, half for the Industrious, and then once one of them makes it, then we'll show you the way that I catch everything back up again. First thing we're going to do, is we got... We'll go with 8 and 8 for now. I think that should be a pretty good number. And in addition, it's going to give me some backups in case we have any errors, issues. Alrighty. Oh yeah, and then over here, these are all our drones. So for we're going to need both types, because the way that the first step of the mutation process is, and we should probably go into that actually, is the bee mutation is actually based on true science, actual DNA science. And if you go to Floristar and watch her bee videos, she goes really in depth into how that works and actually sets up these grids and shows you the percentages of how it works. And I could go through and do that as well if I wanted to do the research and everything. But I realized, that all I'm doing is re-putting out information that someone else has already put out when I could just link to it. And it's easier to just say, this is what works. Instead of the science and spending a long time in science, I'm just going to show you how to do it. And I figured that actually, for most people, that's what you want to know. The science part is cool, and if you're curious, like I said, follow that link I'll put in there, and you can watch, how she explains the science. But we're going to do the simple part, and that is there is a percentage, and I don't know the exact percentage, but there's a percentage when you combine two bees that have the ability to mutate into a certain other bee, that they will mutate. Now, you can either get the purebred, which is very rare. Most likely you'll get a hybrid. So the first thing we're going to be doing is combining forest and meadows. The possible outcomes that we can get is it could still say a full purebred meadow, a purebred forest. It could become a hybrid forest and meadow. It could become what our first mutation is, which is common. Now, the chances of it being purebred are not as likely. More than likely, we'll get a hybrid that's either going to be a meadows common or a forest common or common forest, common meadows. What we're aiming for is to get a purebred common that's going to have all of our statistics that we like. So it's going to have the cave, nocturnal, flyer, and something else that you'll see right here, which is cool from our forest, fertility, 3. This means that every time the queen dies, it is going to give us 3 drones, which is really good once you get to the bee you want, because it's easier for you to build up that stock of drones that we're striving for. So what we're going to do here is, like I said, we're going with the forest and the meadows, and we're going to plant half of them. Well, half of them will be the forest queen, or forest princess, half will be meadows princess. Not that it matters. That's part of the other reason I'm doing this, to show you. some of the instructions out there will say that it has to be the higher level bee has to be the princess and the lower level has to be the drone. Not the case. It does not matter which one's a princess, which one's the drone. It is just the fact that you have the two bees required for a mutation. The specific bees required for a specific mutation have to be there, and then you have that small percent chance of that mutation happening. So that is what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead, place our bees. For every forest princess we put in, a Meadows drone. For every Meadows princess we put in, a forest drone. So I'm going to put these in. We'll let the timer go through on all of them. Once they've all, the queens have all died, we'll come back and we'll pick them up and we'll see what we have. So I will see you guys shortly. All right, our first set of bees is done. Remember, we put in 8 Meadows, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we actually got 9 Meadows back, 3 forests back, and 4 commons. Now the question is, do we have hybrids? So there we go. We have a Meadows Forest hybrid. Meadows Forest. And these all should be, once again, still containing that one. That's what we're looking for to make sure. Meadows Forest, Meadows Forest, Meadows Forest, Meadows Forest, Meadows Forest, Meadows Forest, Meadows Forest. Forest Meadows, Forest Meadows, Forest Meadows. And you can see some of these are getting like a 2. We lost some of because the Meadows had the 2 in it. Now, for the commons. Here we have a common Meadows, and you can see that because the Meadows didn't have that in there, so that's only got the fertility of 2. And when it hit the common, it lost half of this. So we're going to have to breed once we get the full purebred common, a purebred common one. We're going to have to try and find a way of breeding. Not find a way, we already know how, but we'll have to breed back in the flyer and nocturnal and cave into it for the next stage of the thing. There we go. There's a straight up common, and unfortunately it lost everything. Another common Meadows and a common forest. So basically our choices here is we could go ahead and put all these in with different ones and try to get them all to kind of come up. We could go back and make all of these purebred commons to kind of continue on from now. And those are 2 different ways you can do it. Honestly, since the well, we'll see what we get with the drones. But for say these common hybrids, like this one, and this one, if we get any purebred common drones, all we have to do is combine them with these, and we should be able to breed the forest and meadows out, and then we'll have them. For the rest of these, we'll just throw them back in once again with our purebred drones, and they'll either go back to being a purebred princess, or they have the chance of turning into our mutation. The chance is less than what it is when it's purebred, which is why I want to bring them back to purebred, because we have a better chance of getting that common mutation when we're going from purebred to purebred. So you can see out of 16 bees, we got 4 common, so it's about 25%. So if we were to go back through here again, we should be able to get, like another 3 out of there. Alright, so quick brief on what we ended up with. These ones in the bottom all reverted back to their purebred state, and they're all still full with their good stuff. We ended up with 3 of the forests that are still meadows, 2 of the meadows that were still forest. We have 1 forest common out of those 4, the commons that we had over there earlier. 1 of them stayed forest common, but we now have 3 purebreds, including this one, which actually was able to keep a lot of the goodies from the other ones. So we have 3 purebreds. We're going to keep firing those off. We want to get as many purebred common drones as we can while we try and get a few more here. When I can get myself up to at least 8 common princesses, then I'm going to start making the move towards the next one. So I'm just going to go ahead and repeat what we did before, and then I will come back once we get up to the next level. All right, so we're back, and we're ready for the next step. As you can see, I've got a bunch of drones. We have all of our princesses, a couple of the cultivateds we picked up in the process, and our forest drones. So what we're going to do
is we're going to go ahead and take and combine all of our common princesses. And again, we could go the other direction if we wanted. It doesn't have to go common princess. We could take our common, I mean our forest princesses or our meadows princesses, which we don't have a lot of because we converted them all to common, which is why I'm doing that. And then we're going to combine our forest drone. Now, again, I could use meadows, but my meadows don't all have this fertility of 3. So I want to use that so that I have more chances when I get like a hybrid to keep that mutation of 3, so we, or not mutation, but that fertility of 3, so we keep that higher chance of mutation. And then of course we already have these 3. Where was the other one? Oh, there it is. So for this one, did I have some? Yeah, what we're gonna do is actually we'll probably hold off on this one and this one, and we're gonna wait to see if we can't get a pure cultivated drone to combine with these two to knock out the forest out of there. Because once we do that, again, then you've got your pure. You get a pure princess, a pure drone, and then we can start mass producing the drones, and then it's easier to clean these up. So I'm going to go ahead and set these all up. I'll come back for our first harvest, show you that, and then probably come back once we got enough to really move on to the next step. So see you guys in a few.
All right, so good news. I got one common. Looks like he has a long life, so he's taking a lot longer than our other ones to do. But if we go over here, there we go. This is what we got as far as the princess is, minus the one we're waiting on. So we got a few forest commons down here, which you expect. So we'll breed those back in with our common purebreds to get the forest out of there, so we can use the um, forest drones again. And of course, we still have the shot that the forest part of this will combine with the 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 common here and still give us that mutation. Bunch of common forest, same thing. We're going to breed those back to purebreds. Here's our cultivateds. So we got a common cultivated, cultivated common, and then the forest cultivated, cultivated forest. So those 4 will combine with some of these down here. But the cool thing is we actually got out of those 2 that were already hybrids, and I combined them with the matching hybrid. So when it said if it was like a cultivated common princess, I combined it with a cultivated common drone, and figured I either get the common or a cultivated. And I actually got 2 purebred cultivateds out of it, which is awesome. All right, so this time it's actually moving across, or moving rather quickly. This is still our second round. I have 4 of them that have like a longer life, so I haven't got to see what they are yet. But out of this batch, I got 3 purebred cultivateds. Um, that one's got almost everything on it already from the crossbreeding. That one's got at least half, so it's going to make it easy for these ones to breed all these things back into it. And once we get the drones that have everything, we can interbreed it with all of the princesses, and this will move us to the next step really quickly. All right, we are ready to move on. And I'm peeking around because I had a creeper, and not the green going boom variety, but a fuzzy type. There he is. Creeper be creeping. All right. So anyways, back to where we were. And here we are. So we've got our cultivated princesses, and I don't have them identified because I already know what they were. They were mass breeding. But anyway, so all of them have 3 fertility, and we've got the full nocturnal, flyer, and cave. So we are ready to go. We're going to combine them with our common drone. And this is where the 2 paths are finally going to diverge. When we combine common and cultivated, and once again, it doesn't matter which one's the princess, which one's the drone. Once we combine these 2, we have 2 possible outcomes. We have the diligent, which is the industrious branch, and we have the noble, which sounds imperial, of the imperial branch. So what our plan is to seed all of these apiaries, and then hopefully we can get it so we'll have all the diligence going on this side for our next step, and our nobles on this side, so we'll get half and half for the Imperial and the Industrious. So I'm going to go ahead and load all these up, and I will be back shortly once we get our first batch to go through. All right, first batch of princesses, and these are all cultivated commons. These are all cultivated commons. We have 2 cultivated diligents, a common diligent, and 2 common nobles. And out of our drones, I've got a nice spattering of both the diligent and the noble, including one actual purebred noble. Unfortunately, that means it has none of the benefits of our other area, although it does help us to get more purebreds down the road. So, I'm going to try a little something different here. We're going to try and match these up a little bit with the ones that we have, and I'll show you that here real quick, and see if we can't try and get that purebred a little bit quicker, because I've playing around in the last batch of bees. I did kind of realize that playing a little bit with some of these hybrids with the chances did work out. So let me look at that, and I'll be right back. Alright, so here's what I was talking about. So for this princess, we have a common diligent. Now what I want to do is I want to breed that common out of it. So I want to have a diligent. So by using a cultivated diligent, the chances are that I could have a pretty decent chance of the 2 diligents getting together and giving me a purebred diligent, or the diligent with the common giving me a common diligent, or the diligent with the cultivated, so I'm still going to have a hybrid. Or if the common and the cultivated get together, I also have the possibility of getting a common cultivated, but also of getting the mutation into the diligent as well. So by doing this, I'm going to give this a try to see if we can't maybe get some purebred princesses out of this. And I'm doing it on all these. So for noble, I got the 2 nobles, and then cultivated common again to try and see if we can't get the mutation. So I'm going to give that one a try here, and we'll see how that works out. Alright, so the top 4 here are the 4 that were already partial breeds, and so I combined them with their opposites to see what we could get. This one ended up just going to the common cultivated, which was a step back. These 2 are still common noble, which is the same as they were before. However, you can see all these are nocturnal now, so that means that we've got some of our stuff still left over, which is good. And we got 1 that was a straight purebred diligent princess. Doesn't have the 3 on the facility, but it actually already almost has the entire. So that was like a really good random shot on that. So we're going to hold you on the side because I don't have a purebred diligent. I got a purebred noble. So we're going to take you, and stick it in this little chest that I've got sitting over here. So there's diligent, and we got some nobles here. And we'll go ahead and take one of these cultivateds out and put it back in play just to keep all of them going to give us the full chances. Now, of the regular ones, I have 3 common cultivateds now, and 3 cultivated commons, and these other ones turned into straight cultivateds again. So I can throw them right back in with the common drones. They reverted all the way back. And then we got 1 cultivated diligent. So we'll stick all these back in and see if we can't get ourselves some purebreds. We're pretty much good to go. I've already got 2 sets of purebred diligents producing drones, and I just got 3 sets of nobles. So we're good to go as far as the mass producing of drones, and that's going to make it easy to get us to 8 sets of each. And I even got a majestic, so out of the princesses already, so that's set up for the next round as well. So at this point, once again, I'm just going to go through and do the same thing again. We'll go ahead and breed up a bunch of drones, breed that into these, get the statistics we got, or the traits we want, flyer, cave, and nocturnal, as well as the extra drones, and then we'll be ready for our next step. All right, and we are ready for the next stage of our journey. So, got diligence and nobles. and I just got done taking these out of there, the apiaries, but I've got shorter lifespan, so they go through this quicker. Slower pollen, which is better than slowest, but they all have the 3 fertility and all of our good nocturnal flyer cave. In addition to the same thing with the noble. So we are ready to move on. Um, in this one, we're going to be putting, like I said, the cultivateds on the left, nobles on the right, and for the next stage, you basically we're going to put cultivated with both sets. So a diligent and a cultivated is going to give us unweary. A noble and a cultivated is going to give us majestic. One of the cool things about the majestic, and I actually found one of those already, is it comes with, I think this was the right one. There you go. Fertility of 4. So that'll be the next feature we'll be trying to interbreed into our bees here. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and load these all up, and I'll be back when we get our first harvest. All right, not too bad for our first time out. I got 2 unwearies hybrids in the cultivated branch. In the noble branch, we got 1 majestic hybrid. So we'll go ahead and breed these back into the noble variety and the cultivated variety, and then try it again. I may also, now that I remembered over here, I already had 2 majestic hybrids in here as well. So I'll throw those in the mix once I get those bred out. But yeah, once again we're back in the old grind. But you can see right now, the noble cultivated will give us the majestic, and the unweary or the diligent cultivated will give us these unwearies. So, yeah, I'm going to play around with this for a few more generations, and I'll come back when we're ready to move on to the last step. And it's finally time for that last section. So basically, I'll bring one of each of these down because I spent a little bit of time with both of them. But like we said, the majestic had the fertility of 4. So besides breeding in all of our good stuff, once I got my unwearies up, I crossbred them with some of the drones and bred in that fertility of 4. So these bees are getting pretty crazy. Eventually, I'll come back and work on the lifespan, speed, and pollen, but important parts are that fertility's up there, nocturnal flyer and cave, and again, things like the temperature, climate stuff. We'll be able to work on those at a later date if we choose to as well. But right now, we are 1 step away. So basically, what we're now going to do is we're going to take and cross our unwearies with the diligent once again, and the majestic with our noble once again. And the unweary and diligent is going to give us our industrious, and the majestic and noble is going to give us the imperial. So I'm going to go ahead, once again, half on this side, half on that side. I'll let them run their course, and as soon as they're done, I will be back and show you what we get on that first harvest. All right, so our first batch didn't get lucky on the industrial side, but we did get 1 imperial on the off the majestics. So, like I said, sometimes you get really lucky, sometimes you don't. Looking through the drones, though, I think I did at least have a few industrial drones that were in here somewhere, or at least we haven't got to them quite yet. Like there. So there's enough in here, and in like 2 or 3 more generations, that's all it's going to take every one of these times. It just takes that 1 pair. Once you get the purebred drone, purebred princess, you go through, you start breeding up all those drones. You can take a purebred drone, if you have enough of them of the same type, throw it in, and just keep reproducing on the same princess. And it doesn't matter. Like, I can take that Meadows from the beginning and go over here to this, all these drones that we created in this process here. Throw 6 of them in an automatic thing, and by the time it gets to that 6th drone, you pretty much are almost guaranteed to have that purebred princess. It doesn't take a lot of work once you get your drones. And so that's why I think a lot of people get kind of confused about this process. It isn't about the princesses. It's about the drones. Because once you get to this point, if you were to come up to me and say, "Hey, I need just a badass noble. All I have to do is come over here. I don't care what princess I have. I don't need to have a noble princess. I can take that and I can put it in. And like I said, in just 5, 6 generations, I will have that perfect princess for you of the noble variety, just because I have a stock of drones. So, I'm gonna go ahead. We'll finish this up here, and we'll get to where we have our final product. Our nice group of industrial and our nice group of imperial. But again, just remember, it's all about the drones. If anything we've learned in this process here, the chances of you combine this one with that one, it's hard to get to the point where you get that purebred pair. And the more you start with, the easier it is to get that first pair. But once you get that first pair and you mass produce it, then you just start taking those drones, combining it with your other bees, and you will get the bees that you want. So, anyways, let me take care of this real fast, and I'll be right back, and we can wrap this episode up. All right, we have made it to the end. 2 extra benefits for the final bees. The Imperial bee have a effect called Beatific. And what it is it's actually a rejuvenation regeneration. So if you're in the area of effect, it'll actually give you a rejuvenation buff on you. So that's awesome. The second thing is fast pollen. And that actually came from our industrious bees. And fast pollen just means how quickly they're going to pollinate and plant extra flowers around, or how quickly they will cross-pollinate our trees with our tree breeding. If you look up there, you can see that there's some pretty interesting trees, and that's because Fuzzy Cheddar has been working really hard on the trees, and he's actually, I think there's only one tree left that he hasn't found, so you can kind of look around. There's some really cool different tree styles that are in the area now. So I'm really excited because I have some plans for them in my spawn house. But yes, we have done it. So we took our little meadows and forest, and now we have fast pollinating, 4 fertility, beatific, nocturnal, flying, cave, industrious, and the same thing on our Imperials. So yes, the only thing that's left to really add to them now is to when we work on the lifespan. I still like the shorter lifespan because they breed quicker when you're trying to add stuff to them. Speed would be nice. There are some bees that some of the other mutations that are going to give us some of those other speeds, but I'm not going to get into those right now. And then of course the climate, same thing. There's a couple of the other branches that are going to give us the up and down one, down to some of those things like that. But our industrious pretty much works in a normal environment, and that's usually the easiest to get to if we go somewhere else. So since I'm going to be working in the jungle, I may need to breed up and down or both into these. We'll see once I get over there. But that is it. That is the end of this episode. So, once again, in review, drones. Get those drones. Get those purebred drones. Mass produce them. Breed them back into your princesses. And then go to the next step. It may seem like it takes a little bit longer, but you have the best chance of actually getting the numbers you want. It's technically, you really only need to get that first one, and then you can move them all up to the next stage. So that is how I do it. If you guys have any questions on this, please feel free to leave me a comment. I will definitely reply to any of them and answer all the questions I can. Or if you want, you can even just leave me a message. Either way. So, hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.